Everything you know about business is wrong. Most business owners try to scale and they get stuck because their business is a mess and they're trying to scale a mess. And if you grow a business that's a mess, you're just going to create a bigger mess. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I build businesses, how I grow them, how I scale them to 8 figures. My name's Chris Campbell. I've collected over $80 million in high ticket sales online. I've built multiple 8-figure brands, and I've done it all with proven systems. So yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's get into it. So I divide up my businesses into 6 different parts: marketing, sales, client success, operations, and leadership. Most corporations, it's bloated. It's a bunch of fancy titles, way too many people. So what I try to do is I make each part of my business a different lever that could be pulled in order to add value. And you could get value at each one of these departments. So I'm going to go through all 6 departments of how I divide them up. The goal of each department, because it's based on very, very specific goals, not fancy titles like the big corporations do. Each department or leader will have key metrics that they got to reach. And then I divide that up into different subunits for each department. This is how I've learned to scale businesses that actually are profitable, that don't just paint you into a corner where you have no fucking time or freedom to actually enjoy your life. This is why I built this. It changed my fucking life once I figured this out. So it all starts with good leadership. If you don't have good leadership, your business is going to fail, straight up. Now, maybe you're by yourself and you're the sole owner. You got to be the leader, the visionary, the guy that's responsible for protecting the legacy of the business. The leadership's job is to set the vision and protect the priorities of the business, allocate resources, and make the business profitable. So as a leader, if you're looking at yourself as the entrepreneur and you're the leader of the business, you should be holding yourself accountable for your team's output. How much work is your team getting done? How efficient is your team? And you got to take extreme ownership of that, extreme responsibility of that. If your company is not profitable, if your business is not making money, that's your responsibility as a leader. The leadership, their job is to set strategic milestones, and that's how you measure the success. So strategic planning, resource allocation, capital management, partnerships, mergers and acquisitions, exit plans, and equity plays. That's the leadership. That's the foundation of any company. It trickles down from the leadership and the vision and the culture of the CEO. So that's your responsibility. Now, I'm lucky enough to have business partners. I have 2 amazing partners, and we all complement each other. We see each other's weaknesses and strengths, and we overcompensate for those weaknesses with our strengths. So each person gets to play to their strengths and their weaknesses, and we make up for it. In my opinion, every company should have a math guy that's good at the numbers and an art guy, the creative mind behind it, and a visionary and a doer, like a go-getter, somebody that gets shit done. That's really important. And maybe as the CEO, you could be all 3 of those things, but it's good to partner up. If you're a one-man army and you're not the math guy and you're the art guy, it'd be really beneficial to team up with the math guy that knows the numbers. The next thing is operations. That's the foundation. Without operations, without systems in place, you're not going to scale. It's all done manually. There's too much riding on the human element. So what do I mean by operations? I'm talking about building and maintaining the machine that's behind the scenes. That's really important. And the way I would measure that, if I look at it as different levers that I could pull in the business to get value, I'm going to measure my operations guy based on their execution speed. How fast do they get shit done? How accurate do they follow along with the SOPs, with the standard operating procedures? I also look at their completion percentage. How many clients complete the program? How many customers complete or buy the product and actually transform from the product? Now, this could be your VAs. If you break it down into a team, even if you're by yourself, you're going to have to do all these things, or you're going to have to outsource it or hire people to help you with it. But in the future, as you start to build your team and allocate your funds, this is going to be your VAs. This is how I do it. I separate my VAs and make them manage the projects, project management. Your operations are going to be all your SOPs, your SOP library, all your back-end systems, your tech stack, your CRM, whatever you're using for CRMs, for communication. That could be like Slack or Go High Level, things like that. Your finance and legal compliance, and then HR and recruiting and team building. So those are the two foundational parts. Now, the leadership, their job is to protect the business. The operations designed to scale the business with systems. The next part is program delivery. This could also be called product delivery. So how do you deliver the product? If it's an online coaching program or mentorship or online course, how do you deliver to the students and get that transformation? If it's an actual product, how you ship it and deliver it to satisfy the customer. That's a big part of it. I don't like commingling these departments. I like each one responsible with a leader that has its own KPIs, their own key metrics that they got to hit. So for the program delivery, I'm always looking at how do they deliver results? How good are the results for the customers or the clients? How can we make the product better over time? That's their responsibility. And the way I would measure their success is the percentage of clients that we transform from the product or the program. How many people actually finish it, complete it, and transform based on the promise that we give them, that the offer gives them? And what's the rate of completion and testimonials? This is a big way that I measure the program delivery department. That department is responsible for getting testimonials from the customers. And you can measure the success based on those key metrics. And I break it down into these little subunits. So the program delivery could be broken up into curriculum development or product development. It could also be coaching or training staff. It could be community management and how you keep people happy, retention, and events and workshops. So each one has its subunits. Each one has its measurable goals and KPIs. Now, client success, of course, that should be one of your most important primary employees that you hire is your CSM or your CSM manager, your client success manager. That's one of the most important people on my team for every business I've ever built. And they should know about 80 to 90% of what you know as the CEO. If you're the one who built the product, you came up with the plan or the curriculum or the service, and you know it like the back of your hand, your CSM should know about 80% of what you know so that they could transfer that knowledge over to the customers. Now, how do I measure client success and measure the team's performance? Well, their job, their main goal for that department, they're all working together to retain clients, avoid churn rate, and maximize LTV, lifetime value of a customer. One of the most important numbers you should be measuring as a business owner is your LTV. So the key metrics that I'm going to measure for this department, everybody in this department, we're looking at churn rate. We're looking at upsells. How many upsells do they make after the sales process is made? You know, how much money is made on the back end from people upgrading to better services? And then how long does it take to get the first win or the first result for the customer? That's how you measure the client success. So they're customer-facing, relationship-building people. That's what that department's responsible for. And if I break down each of the subunits, it's onboarding new clients, onboarding phone calls, Those are really important. Weekly check-ins and account management. So you got your account managers that are checking in with customers, whether it's an agency, high-ticket service, coaching program, whatever it is. Client support help desk is a big part of it. Upsell. Now, usually what I'll have is the VAs that take care of the client support help desk. And then I'll have the high-level CSMs taking care of the onboarding calls and doing the weekly check-ins and communication. And then you could automate some of this stuff through companies like Go High Level, Close, different CRM systems that you could use to automate some of the emails and the text messages and the client responses. The next department, because I separate it into 6 parts, is sales. Their job is to convert. They convert leads into revenue. That's their main job. You feed them leads, they convert them into sales. So how do I measure their success? Well, I measure their show up rate. That's a big one. So how many people actually show up? Can you get leads? Once you get those leads, can you actually book them and get them on the phone call to sell them your shit? That's a really important number to measure, your show up rate. That could go up and down depending on your follow-up and your sales process. So I usually put an emphasis on that because the setters and the closers' job is to increase that show rate. That's their responsibility. How much cash is collected per phone call in the month? How much revenue is generated from the contract? And what's your closing rate, or cash collected per call is one that I like to measure as well. But the closing rate shows you their skill set. The show up rate shows you how well the setters are doing at booking calls. The cash collected shows you how good they are at sales, how good your offer is, all those things. So this is a lever that could be pulled, the sales department, to convert leads into revenue. And I usually divide those up into little subcategories. So I have my setters, also known as SDRs, sales development reps. Their job is to do speed to lead and follow up with leads. So as leads come in from the marketing team, they call them, text them right away. You might have some automations and some follow-ups as well that I do for that as well. But then once the setters book it and qualify it, build up some value, now they're passing it over to the closer or the account executive, depending on your business model. Maybe if it's an agency, you'll have your closers kind of managing some accounts and upselling. Maybe it's more of like a one call, one close type of sales process. The closers are really responsible for generating revenue, closing deals. Then you got your sales managers who manage the setters and the closers. And then you have the script writers and the sales trainers. So they write the scripts for the salespeople. They come up with the words and the language patterns. And then the sales trainers are training these guys, because I believe that sales is an energy game. So they constantly have to be managed. This is like a big part, the human element that has to be managed constantly, especially in high ticket sales or anything where there's lead generation getting passed on to a sales team. Now, the final one I want to talk about, which is actually kind of one of the most important parts, you can't really build a business without marketing. You know, it doesn't matter how good your team is, doesn't matter how good your offer is or your product or your service, you could have the best reputation in the world. But if you don't have any marketing, if nobody knows about your stuff, you're not going to make any sales. So that's how you attract people. You generate qualified leads, you gain attention, you gain leads. This is the main goal that I look at for that particular department. So each one is a lever that could be pulled for value. This lever right here generates qualified attention and leads in the marketplace, creates demand for my offer. And the key metrics that I look at are they generating leads? What's the cost to acquire a customer, the CAC, the CAC, one of the most important metrics that you should be looking at as a business owner. A lot of business owners don't even measure and don't even know what their CAC is, which is wild to me, but it's one of the most important metrics. How much money does it cost to acquire a new customer? You should be willing to invest a lot of money into acquiring customers. He who's willing to invest the most to acquire a customer wins the game in the marketplace. Because if you could outcompete your competitors on marketing or advertising, then you'll never have to worry about money. Another key metric we measure for the marketing department is CPL, cost per lead. That could be a vanity metric, if the leads aren't good quality, but it's still good to measure, because if the leads are really cheap, but they're low quality when they get on the phone, you might want to create more friction between the lead and the sales call in order to increase the quality. Put more questions on the form, make them fill out a pre-call form, maybe put a little bit more polarizing copy in the ad, things like that, to push people away and narrow down to a more specific audience. That's the CPL. ROAS, that's really important, your return on ad spend. These are the main things that I measure when I'm looking at marketing. Also the CTR, the click-through rate. So the click-through rate is going to tell you how good your hook is or how good your marketing creative concept is. Something I always call the big marketing idea. So your big marketing idea is going to be measured by how many people actually click through to the ad and watch it, and the retention of the video. The ROAS, the return on ad spend, is going to tell you how well your entire ad does. It's also going to show you how good the sales process is as well. So the ROAS is a little bit of a combination of how good the marketing is in combination with the sales team. The cost per lead is just telling you how well your funnel works and how well it converts. The CAC is telling you how profitable everything is. Because if your cost to acquire a customer outweighs or is too expensive, then you're not profitable. And then, of course, if you're not getting leads, you're not getting sales. So you got to feed your sales team. So I break down my marketing into a few different units here. I have a content team. My content team specializes in media, editing, repurposing. So what I usually do to create content is I'll batch a bunch of long form content. I'll just spend one day doing like 3 or 4 main concepts, record a bunch of footage, give that to my team with the raw content, and then they'll edit it and turn it into a YouTube video. Then they'll take that long form YouTube video, break it up into a bunch of different 30-second, 45-second reels or shorts on YouTube or TikToks. Now, I also have a paid media team, because that's different than the guys that do the organic stuff and know how to repurpose and edit and turn it into social media content. The paid media guys, their specialty is to run hyper-targeted advertisements. Now, you don't have to have every single thing when you're first starting out in business. Matter of fact, you could just choose one of these things and go really hard on it and just really focus and master one of those things. And then later on, once you master it and you're killing it and it's profitable, then you could stack another marketing channel on top of it. So is it paid ads? Are you good at paid ads? Do you want to focus all your energy into doing paid ads and mastering that? Then go all in. If you want to master organic, go all in on that. If you want to build out a funnel and just get really good at copywriting and converting like video sales letters into automated emails and landing pages, that's another part. So these are 4 different categories of marketing. The organic growth is like the SEO, the YouTube, the algorithm, people searching for you, digital PR campaigns, getting your stuff in like blogs and articles, getting people to talk about you. The funnels are what they take the traffic from online and convert it into actual leads. So you got to have somebody who is responsible for each section. And what I noticed when you're building teams like this, you got these 6 different categories, 6 different departments. Usually I try to find the right personality as the leader of that department. So in the future, and maybe you're not big enough now, maybe you don't have enough employees, your team isn't big enough. But even if you're running this all by yourself, you should be dividing your tasks and your day-to-day operations into these categories. And then once you're big enough, you should start to add people to your team. Now, maybe you do the marketing yourself and then you hire a salesperson to help you close those deals. Maybe you do the sales yourself, but you hire a setter to help you close those deals. What I like to do is I get a marketing guy to generate leads for the setters. The setters book appointments for the closers. Closers hand off professionally to the onboarding teams. The client success managers take over and they get to the client's win or transformation as soon as possible. Get them to that time till their first result so you could celebrate a win. The program delivery guys are coming in here to get the testimonials and completion. Then the operations guys are helping me scale with technology and systems and automation and delegation and things like that. Now, usually what I try to do when I hire leaders, let's talk about that for a second, because the first people you got to hire is somebody who leads this entire operation. And what's cool, it's not based on these bloated salaries or, you know, these fancy titles you give people like the chief marketing officer and all that stuff. It's not about that. It's about giving them a measurable goal, giving them the key performance metrics that we expect from them, and setting those expectations. And then they just hit those numbers. So it's all based on results. It's results driven. Now, what I found when I'm building teams and I'm putting leaders in place, you usually want to focus on the Myers-Briggs personality test, originally from Carl Jung. And he kind of breaks down personalities. There's like 16 different personalities. And I noticed that each personality, maybe there's 2 or 3 that fit into that type of leader or that type of category. So for example, with marketing guys, when you look at the Myers-Briggs personality type, you want to get people who understand the way people think. They have extroverted thinking functions in their brain and their personality type. So usually if I was going with Myers-Briggs, I would look for like an ENTJ or an INTJ to do your marketing as a leader. It doesn't have to be every single person. You know, your SEO guy could be this other type of, you know, a personality. Your YouTube guy could be separate. But the leader of your marketing, I found it's always best to get an ENTJ or an INTJ. And you could look that up and go deeper on the personality types if you want to, but that's what I found. And for sales guys, for a sales leader, a sales manager, somebody who's going to be able to motivate, somebody who's going to be able to relate to sales guys, pump up their energy, because it's an energy game. It's a state management thing with sales. I find the best personality types for that are ENFJs or INFJs. I've known a lot of INFJs in my life that are great sales leaders. I'm an ENFJ myself. So I always look for guys like that to manage and run my sales teams because they really can relate to people. They know when they can read the room and they know how to shift the state of the energy on the sales team, which is really, really important with sales. You got to keep their energy up for them to keep closing deals and stay on the phone. Now, for client success, that takes a very unique personality type because you're dealing with customers and you got to be nice. You got to be sweet to these guys. You got to come off as a really empathetic person that could connect to humans. You can't be cold. You have to be warm. So these warm personality types that I find are SFJ personalities, like an ESFJ or an ISFJ. And you can look that up on 16personalities.com. You could take the test as well and see what type you are. And you could make your employees or interviewees go through a test like this to find out what type they are. But make sure if they do that test, you tell them there's no right or wrong answers. Just be honest, be genuine in the answers. Now, for program delivery, executing the program, fulfillment. Now, both, by the way, I think of marketing as attracting people, attracting attention, attracting leads. I think of sales as converting that attention into actual dollars. So the salespeople is probably one of the most important people in your company because their job, they're responsible for the exchange of money through hands. In my opinion, one of the most important skills in business by far. It's the life force of the business, that with marketing. So you attract, then you convert. The client success, this is fulfillment. You fulfill. Program delivery is also part of fulfillment. So these two are they work together side by side. Now I found for program delivery, you also want thinker types. So ESTJ personalities or ISTJs personalities are really good because these guys are finishers and they really know how to execute. They're going to drive results. They're going to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So these guys would be the best ones to make sure that you're actually going to complete the task for the customers and make them happy and get those testimonials. Now for operations, these are very special people, ops guys. You know, they get shit done. They could put hammers to nails. So I find that these kind of guys are best to find an INTP or an ENTP. So NTP personality types. Either one of those would be great to lead your operations, to help you with your tech stack, to help you put all your systems together and automate things. Also, even on the numbers side, the math guy, the finance guy, the legal compliance, keeping you guys out of trouble. It should be that kind of guy, a thinker type. Now leaders, you know, that's you. And who knows what your personality type is. But what you should know yourself, because self-awareness in business is key to success. You got to be hyper aware of who the fuck you are, your weaknesses and your strengths. Don't be delusional about your weaknesses. You know, admit it to yourself and your insecurities, and then find someone on your team, a leader who could help you make up for those weaknesses with their strengths. Somebody who's like the opposite of you. That's what I found. So if you got some value at this, like this video, subscribe to the channel for more free game. All right, motherfuckers, let's get to that. Fuck. Sorry. So if you like this video and you got some value from this today, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more free game. All right, motherfuckers, let's get to work. I'm going to do that one more time. Fuck. All right. Yeah, so once I learned this, it changed my fucking life. I was able to scale multiple 8-figure businesses by doing it like this. This is a proven formula. A lot of these big corporations, they just waste money. They got bloated departments with all this extra manpower that's unnecessary, and they're not measuring the results. They're not turning the levers in their departments to get value or profit from each leader. So if you like this, subscribe to the channel for more free game. All right, motherfuckers, let's get to work.